Today we're putting raw meat directly on the fire, just like the cavemen did. This is what's cooking Wednesday. Today we're cooking Caveman Carne Asada. What that means is we're going to take some really good quality cuts of beef, we're going to marinate it for quite a while, and we're going to cook it over the fire. But instead of just putting it on the grates on the grill, we're going to be setting it directly on the coal to get a wonderful char, a deep smokiness. It's going to be perfect in some Carne Asada tacos. Let's get started. What I have right now are some thin cut ribeyes. These are about 3/4 of an inch, maybe even coming close on 1/2 inch. That's really what we want when we're doing Carne Asada directly over the fire. A really thick cut is going to take a really long time to cook. Now, my favorite cut for Carne Asada is actually skirt steak, but right now it's really hard to find. So we've got us some wonderful ribeye. I'm going to start off with a good seasoning. You kind of want to do that first so it gets stuck to the meat before you put your liquid in. I'm using some fajita seasoning from Fiesta brand. You can use any seasoning you like. I'd steer away from the direct barbecue flavor seasonings and go with a little bit more savory, salt, pepper, garlic, maybe some cumin or some paprika, some chili powder is always a good addition. Normally we'd let this seasoning sit on this meat for about 15 or 20 minutes before we do the marinade. For the sake of the video, we're going to go ahead and do it. But at home, if you got the extra time, go ahead and let that seasoning rest. I'm going to start off by throwing some beer in there. You don't need a whole can. First, pour it over the meat. Now what you're hoping for in your liquid here is that you want to cover that meat completely. I'm going to throw some orange juice in there as well. You could use some pineapple juice, some mango juice, anything that's going to go good with taco flavoring. Acid is going to eat up at the meat a little bit and tenderize it as it sits. But I don't want to do all juice, so we start off with that beer, just enough to get this meat covered. Probably about 2 or 3 cups of that orange juice. And then one more topping of the seasoning just to kind of get it to disperse throughout the liquid. And that's it for our liquid marinade. We're going to put this in the refrigerator now for about 2 hours. We're going to fire up our grill and we'll show you how we're going to cook this directly over the flames. We got some blazing hot coals. We're going to throw the steaks directly on the coal. Now I know what you're thinking, those steaks are going to get covered in ash. It's actually not going to be that bad. Those steaks are going to go ahead and sweat out all the ash in the pan when we're doing the rest. But being able to put them directly on the coal is going to add a lot of smoke, a lot of heat, a lot of sear that you're not going to get when you're on a grill grate. So we're going to get started here. Now you want to mind the fact that you want to flip these steaks back over onto hot coals, so you don't want to load up all your coal with wet steaks, because placing the steak directly on the charcoal is going to be like putting a wet blanket on fire. The steak is not going to catch fire. It's actually not going to cook as fast as you think it's going to. It's going to start to cool the fire underneath, create a really nice smoke that's going to bake it, and the hot coals around the steak are what's really going to be able to add a sear to this thing. But we want to keep an open section here of hot coals to be able to flip the steaks over. Once we flip them, where they were is going to start to get hot again. We can get the other ones on after that. I'm going to take a little bit more fajita seasoning and just do a little dust at the top of these steaks, just to make sure they got some seasoning sticking to them after being in the liquid. Now you may notice we've removed the grates from our Hasty Bake Legacy 132 and we brought the fire all the way up to the sear position. This is going to make it really easy for us to go ahead and throw the meat directly on the fire with no grates in the way whatsoever. Then when we do our tortillas though, we're going to throw that grate back on so it picks up some great smoke, gets just a little bit of char, makes them taste super fresh. We'll go ahead and flip them over now onto the hot coal side. Any charcoal that sticks to it, you go ahead and remove off with your tongs. We're going to let those other coals that just had the meat on it get hot again so I can put my second steaks on them. Now because we're doing this for fajitas, we want that meat to be nice and tender. So we're going to pull this at a medium rare. For beef, that's going to be about 130 to 135 degrees. Now because these are cut really thin, you want to make sure when you probe it at a real nice narrow angle, because if you go too deep, you're going to go right through the steak. It's also helpful because the fire is so hot, if you want to pull the steak off, put it in a pan and probe it in the pan, you can do that too, so you don't get a false reading on your thermometer. You notice all the smoke that's coming up from that fire is going directly into the meat. It's almost like you're being able to smoke something, but at a very high temperature in a very short amount of time. Now these steaks are off. Now they do have a little bit of ash on them, but as we cover them and the humidity and the meat sweat inside that pan, it's going to wash all the ash off into the bottom of the pan. We'll pull it out, the steaks will be completely clean. I'm now going to take the grate for the Legacy 132 and slide it back on the grill. Give that about 10 or 15 seconds to heat up because this fire is very hot. We're going to take our tortillas and we're going to throw them directly on the grill. It's going to warm them up, get some nice char marks on them. And that's all there is to it. I put these tortillas over the top of the meat so that they start to hold in the humidity of the meat that's sweating. It's going to make the tortillas soft. It's going to keep the meat warm. We're going to let these rest for about 10 minutes so all the rest of the ash can come off of it. We're going to slice them up and eat some lunch. Our meat is rested about 15 minutes or so. Still nice and piping hot. All these tortillas are really soft. We're going to go ahead and take these ribeyes and slice them. Now, like any meat, you want to kind of try to find the grain the best you can and slice against the grain, just so that they end up as tender as possible. I'm slicing them into about 1/4 inch slices, which is about the normal size of a fajita slice. You can go a little thinner or thicker if you'd like. What I do like to do after I get the long slices, I come back one more time and slice right down the middle and make a little bit shorter slices. It makes it easier to put the meat in a taco. It goes a little bit further too. Now the neat thing about this method is you're going to get some really good char on the outside of your meat. You're going to have some really nice tender pieces, and truthfully you're going to have a few overdone pieces too if they were sitting against some really hot charcoal or the meat didn't lay completely flat. And that's completely fine, and I'll tell you why. Because as we slice these into taco sized pieces, they're all going to get mixed up together. So you're not going to have a bunch of overcooked meat, you're not going to have a bunch of undercooked meat, you're not going to have too much char. It's all going to distribute evenly throughout that taco. You have some wonderful, nice, medium rare slices there. But in between all that, you have some wonderful dark char. Just mix all this up. Now what I normally do from here is I taste it. Make sure it's got the right flavor profile. This is perfect. If not, this is a great opportunity for you to go ahead and grab some seasoning, sprinkle on top of your taco. We're going to start building these tacos now. Now what I also like to do when we make tacos is have some toppings available. So we're going to go ahead and sprinkle some steak inside these tacos. Make sure you disperse some good char, some good medium pieces, some good medium rare pieces throughout all the tacos. What we also have is a little bit of avocado green salsa. We're going to do a little topper with that on all these tacos. That's just a mix of avocado, tomatillo, some other seasonings. You can buy it at the store, you can make it yourself. We also have some nice quesadilla cheese. This meat's hot enough, it's going to slightly melt that cheese. If you want to add some cilantro, some red onion, white onion, it's up to you. Top it with some lime, go crazy, have as much fun as you want with them. That right there is caveman style carne asada directly over the coals, making some wonderful rustic homemade tacos. Thanks for joining us for What's Cooking Wednesday. If you like these videos, make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. You mash that notification button so you're the first to know when these videos come out. Leave us a comment below. Give us some ideas for some other recipes you guys want to see. Appreciate you joining us every single week. We'll see you next time.